Today, we are going to be talking about what makes this floating ball of pus so very cool and what we can learn from it. In the lore of Dungeons & Dragons, the Sibriex is one of the oldest creatures, perhaps as old as the abyss itself. It is considered to be the plastic surgeon for the demon lords, and with its gigantic train-sized face of blood and pus, who wouldn't want to look just like it? It uses its amazing flesh warp ability to turn its masters into a more beautiful creation, and we're going to be looking at what it can do in depth to your party next. For the uninitiated amongst you, the Sibriex is found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. My Sibriex, which I grabbed from this as soon as I saw that beautiful face, has been a reoccurring villain in my Rod of the Seven Parts campaign. The Sibriex has captured PC's families, kept information from them, and recently foretold of apocalyptic events that they completely ignored and didn't try to solve the puzzle and then triggered the apocalypse. But you know what? That's why we're all here for a good time. Now, its stats don't seem particularly terrifying to a mid to high level party. It has a 19 AC, which is easily hit by the barbarian that you for some reason gave a dwarven thrower, and it only has an average of 150 hit points. It doesn't have a particularly impressive strength score. It has literally no dexterity. Decently con, very smart, very wise, and for some reason very charismatic. I guess you need to be good talking to demon lords if they're not going to cut your head off and then feed it to you. It has a contamination ability like some other monsters where you can be poisoned if you stand too close. It has some mediocre spells, which you probably won't use except Feeble Mind or the Barbarian, but then nobody's even going to notice that everything is wrong. It has a decent attack, a reach attack, and a spit bile attack, which is cool, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for what makes the Sibriex different than all the other monsters, and that is the warp creature ability. The Sibriex targets up to 3 creatures it can see within 120 feet of it. Each creature must make a DC 20 Constitution saving throw. On a successful save, a creature becomes immune to this Sibriex warp creature. Now, if you're lucky like me, only 2 people in the party are proficient in con saves, and then everybody just starts failing. On a failed save, the target is poisoned, which sucks, but it gets worse, which causes it to also gain 1 level of exhaustion. Who knows, maybe this will get the Light Cleric to stop casting Fireball and start casting Greater Restoration. After the 3 successful saves, you can remove the poison, and ending the poison and exhaustion levels. However, each failed save causes the target to gain another level of exhaustion. If you fail 6 times, like all exhaustion effects, you die. But then you get to become the Sibriex's little personal slave as this beautiful boy right over here, the Abyssal Wretch. Isn't that lovely? It gets better though. There is an optional rule on this other page called Fleshwarping. If you fail enough saves, actually if you fail any saves in the presence of the Sibriex, your flesh gets warped, and there's a whole lovely page that you can pick from here. You can make the target skin super brittle. Your sorcerer can gain 300 pounds. Your fighter can now walk around on stilts for legs, and it was a mistake to give your clerics 2 heads because he kind of likes the advantage on perception checks. But what this does is it makes the Sibriex a unique creature in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. It makes the Sibriex an action-oriented monsters. As a DM, we have to think about running encounters like game design. All too often, something that's awesome, like a dragon, is just a bag of hit points with a very dangerous breath weapon, and those fights tend to go one or 2 ways. Your party wails on it for a few turns and kills it because there's 20 of them and there's 1 dragon. Or the dragon survives and then breathes on everybody and they die, which isn't fun for anyone. It's not fun for the DM to have a TPK, and your party will eventually get tired of the rogue rolling a natural 20 and one-shotting every boss with their sneak attack. So what we need to do is think about how to make fights more action-oriented. The Shadow is an excellent example of this. It drains strength and makes fights spiral out of control, but it also makes the party think. I think that was the first time I ever had somebody light a torch in a fight to try to help themselves out. And we can take these examples from the Sibriex and apply them to other monsters. Maybe that Shadow Dragon, which you've been building up to in your campaign, has more abilities. Maybe it can warp flesh to an extent, or drain strength, or do other horrible things. Maybe that red dragon has more than 1 way to use its breath weapon. Maybe a targeted spray at 1 creature, or like mini fireball effects so your party knows what that's like. Maybe that troll standing too close to it, you get pretty sick because guess what? It smells super bad. We can take the Sibriex and apply it to more creatures to make fights more interesting and to make encounters more meaningful. Not only is this a creature that has your family hostage, not only is this a creature that has information that you need, but this is a creature who is transforming the party. And you really want to win now. So now, it's important to know that you shouldn't do this every time your players enter a fight. Sometimes you should just let them win and have a good time. But maybe for that big fight that you've been building up to, take a note or 2 from our beautiful friend, the Sibriex. Now, tune back in next week where we're going to take a classic Dungeons & Dragons monster and redesign it from the ground up for a fun boss encounter. If you would like to stay in touch with the channel, like, comment, subscribe, and follow the applicable links in the description down below. In the meantime, I have been Jake from Monster and Munchkins, and let's have some fun and roll dice.